This is Moments with Foo with James Foo Torres, better known as Foo, the show that takes you around the world to share interviews with some of the most successful and relevant people on the planet, hear their stories, and get the most important business lessons they have learned on their road to success, and get exclusive advice on how to implement their success into your life and business. Moments with Foo is brought to you by the Strategic Advisor Board and your host, Foo.
Welcome to Moments with Foo. I'm your host, James Foo Torres, but you can call me Foo, hence the name of the podcast. Today, I have Shane Ammerman. He is the leader of HCCI Protective Services, but I'm going to let him tell you more about that. But first, Shane, how are you?
I'm doing well, Foo. How are you doing today?
Doing well. Adjusting here still to Puerto Rico. This is my first podcast that I'm recording. Actually, the first one online because I did one in person, and I'm thinking about doing more in person. Hopefully I can have you in person when you come here one day. So
we'd love to come out there. Let's see if we can bring security to Puerto Rico someday.
Yes, and I definitely wanna touch on those things, but let's kick it off with a quick introduction about yourself and your company.
My name's Shane. I'm the owner and founder of HCCI Professional Protective Services. I founded this company nearly 5 years ago in order to fundamentally change the security industry here in the United States. The sad thing is security is treated as an entry-level position, but the fact is protecting lives, people, assets, and places. That's not an entry-level job, Foo. It takes people with skill, dedication, and professionalism in order to keep those things safe. And so that's what HCCI is bringing to the field, an entirely different level of security. We're changing the expectation and we're keeping people safe.
I love that, and I've learned a lot from you. And I always tell people that, if it's not armed security, then that's not real security. It's just theatrics. It's just, someone acting as a security person rather than actual security. So I really love that. And I'm being sharing that, spreading that throughout everybody that I have a conversation about security. So let's talk a little bit more about that, right? Because people don't really understand this, and there's this, oh, guns are bad or guns are good and all that stuff. So what do you have to say for just the general public or even business owners that wanted to protect a physical location that is very valuable? What do you have to say about armed security or not armed security or security in general?
Well, my stance on that is very black and white, Foo. If you do not have armed security, you don't have security at all. And the fact is, and I want everyone to think about this, if you see a person in a uniform that says security and an emergency is happening, in your head, do you think that person should be capable, or do you want that person to be capable of helping you in your emergency right now? If you say yes, you need to understand a security person cannot stop a bad guy that is determined to cause harm or take lives without the equal and necessary force to do the same. It doesn't mean that we want our security professionals to have to kill people. Absolutely not. I hope that never has to happen. But if a bad guy is taking lives and they won't stop, the only way to end that is to take that bad guy's life.
Yeah.
And if your security professional doesn't have that training and that capability, then you're still waiting minutes when seconds count. And every second that's wasted is another life lost. And unfortunately, we saw that in the St. Louis school shooting last October of 2022. You can't even get most schools to have one security guard. That school had seven people. They saw that active shooter trying to get in that school before he ever took a single life, before he ever entered the walls of that school. They saw him. They saw the rifle. They saw the individual. And all they could do is wait on 911 to show up because every single security person at that school was unarmed. So people prioritized theatrics over lives.
7 people that, if they were armed, they would have definitely de-escalated that situation way easier and avoided a lot of stuff, and then it didn't happen because of that, right? So,
but even more, Foo, had that school had professionally trained, visibly armed in uniform professionals, the chances are that bad guy never even would have selected the school to begin with.
you know, that hurts, you know, thinking about those things. And I know that that's why I support your mission so much, because security is a big thing, especially on a reality, on a world where unfortunately school shootings are regular now. Like they're like, oh,
Unfortunately.
another one. Like people are being almost desensitized about it because it just happens so often, which is pretty sad. And that's the case. But it's a reality that we live. So I know that you recently been doing a push for exposing the vulnerabilities of our school, and you kind of mentioned a couple of things already. But you know, for the audience, even when they're business owners, entrepreneurs, most of them they have their kids in school, right? And this is something for this business owners, entrepreneurs to be able to use that their business, their voice, into change, causing change, right? So, what are those vulnerabilities that you have identified that you are educating people on, so things can change?
You know, there's a lot of those vulnerabilities, right? And I know we got to keep this short because you don't have a lot of time. Um, let's talk about our own complacency and access control. Um, our own complacency as parents, school administrators, and teachers is always a thought of it'll never happen here. But I'm going to tell you something, Fu. Every single teacher that has seen that child's life lost before their eyes, every parent that has had to bury their child from an active school shooting has all thought the same thing. It'll never happen here. The fact is if you think it'll never happen here and you don't take the precautions to prevent it, you're just willfully waiting for that threat to become a reality or not. And the fact is, if we don't take steps to prevent it, at some point, it's going to happen closer to home or even at home. And my goal is to protect that and prevent that from happening to another parent. And so we have to take our own active steps to be part of the solution. And that's to understand the real gravity of the situation and the solutions that we need. Security in a school isn't just about the armed presence. It's about access control. It's about hardening your facility to attack. And it's about behavioral threat assessment and behavioral threat training, not just to the security professionals, but even the staff within a school, and how to deal with these things and spot these while they're still a risk before they become a threat. We recently teamed with a company, M6 Global Defense, which is a group of former and even some active Secret Service agents that are bringing that model of the Secret Service protection to schools. And we teamed with them because we very much value the cooperative effect that they bring to the table to not just address physical armed security, but the facility hardening and the training as well.
That is pretty exciting. Being able to collaborate with Secret Service or former or even still active Secret Service members. That's pretty cool. And being able to bring that level of expertise to schools is definitely what it's needed, because you know we need to do something. We need to do something that is drastic, not something that is shallow, like putting someone to pretend to be security, right? So
Correct. But
that
there's
that
even ways,
uh,
as parents, and this works for businesses too. I want businesses to listen up here. There's ways that we contribute to the complacency and the increased risk. And that's by not following security protocols and procedures. If a procedure is in place, if we have a way to mitigate risk and yet we don't follow it, it's as good as having no plan at all. And let's talk about that really quick. Access control. How many times in a business that has access control that you have to go through procedures to be let through a locked door, or schools, they all should have locked doors by this day and age. How many times do we walk out of that building and innocently, ignorantly, and believing we're being helpful and kind, hold a locked door open for somebody and allow them to enter the building without going through security protocols? Bounce this back to schools, but it also works with businesses. You know, I've known Mr. Dave for the last 10 years. Our kids are in 5th grade together. Our kids were born together. Dave is a great guy. We play poker every so often. I love Dave. I love Dave's family, and our kids are best friends. They play on the soccer team together, and there's no way Dave would ever be the threat. And so you're walking out of the school one day and you hold the door open for Mr. Dave. He doesn't have to buzz in, right? He doesn't have to hit that buzzer and be asked who he is and why is he coming into the school. You just let him in. You let Dave straight into the school. But you don't know that last night there was a DV issue at Dave's house. And he tried to hurt the kids or the wife, and that there's an order of protection because Dave's a flight risk to take the kids out of the country or out of the state. And you innocently hold that door open, and now that threat is in the school. We have to follow all security protocols and all security procedures at all times. As a person that works in a business or at a school, you can't just use a rock to prop open a door because you're uncomfortable or you're hot. You just opened a door into your school for a bad guy to enter. You just opened the door into your business for a bad guy to enter. So our own complacency is adding to the problem. In many of the most active shootings, not just schools, shootings, the bad guys have entered through a door that got propped open that never should have been open to begin with. So how are we ignorantly contributing to allowing the bad guys to come into our facilities, whether it's our businesses, our corporations, our schools, our homes? That's a big thing that people overlook is we're inviting it.
This is such a simple thing that people definitely overlook. So thanks for bringing that up, because it's something that I think most of us have done. So it is a good thing to point that out. Are there any other actionable tips or advice that you have for people to be able to be aware of certain things that they should be doing, and how to make sure that they almost like have a checklist of things that are easy to do that to avoid or to do for security purposes?
There's a lot of tips that can go into this, and we could probably spend an hour on these kinds of tips, but become familiar with your facility's security protocols and procedures, right? And follow them, because bad guys look for holes to exploit. And if you're creating those holes, you're making it easier. They're looking for a way to get in. If that procedure is in place, follow it. Follow it even if it's your best friend in the world, because you don't know. Homeland Security states, I've been through 6 of the Homeland Security FEMA counterterrorism and bombing prevention courses and certificated programs. And one of the biggest overlooked risks they say in almost every situation is the insider. That's the people we already know. It's very seldomly going to be the random bad guy. It's normally going to be somebody that somehow is part of the inside. And so follow those security protocols and procedures. If you do not know those security protocols and procedures, then you need to engage with the proper leadership individuals to ask what those are. Learn what they are so that you are familiar with them and can become part of the solutions for keeping your facility, your faculty, your teachers, your coworkers, your business, your location safe. You need to be an active participant in that. This is something that takes every person to be a part of, right? Additionally, you need to know if your facility has emergency protocols for if somebody gets hurt. In a lot of situations, what we're seeing happen is people are dying from preventable deaths. They're dying from bleeding loss. So your facility, your business, your schools, you need to be trained on stop the bleed protocols, and you need to have bleeding kits throughout your school, in your classrooms, for yourself personally. Individual IFAC kits. It's individual first aid kit. It's called an IFAC. Have one of those, right? Because if you get hurt in a way that you're just going to bleed out, but you can prevent that, we're losing people to preventable deaths. So let's be a part of the solution. Learn how you can do that. Learn how you can do it for yourself, and then ask your organizations to help get that kind of training and those physical resources into your hands, so that if that threat becomes a reality, then we can prevent people from dying that could be saved until the professionals get there.
This is something that is very important for people to know, because those little things that can be the difference between life and death, because preventable death, like you said. So it's something that in the military was something that we're taught a lot of having these things and how to use them, how to stop the bleeding, and definitely something that at this point, and just in general, every workplace, every populated area, school, malls, and like all these things, they should have that very accessible, and have like the education be part of the experience of like also like almost like getting into all these different places, so people are aware of these things. I mean, shootings in general are just happening way too often. People need to definitely be aware of this, so we can avoid as much as possible. So thank you.
People are
what's up?
People are always worried about the weapon being in whatever the facility or organization is. But here's the deal. Over 90% of shootings have happened in gun-free and unprotected zones. It's not good people having weapons that's the issue. It's bad people. Bad people are never going to follow the law, right? You can implement any law you want, but bad guys get around them, right? It's the same thing why sex trafficking is increasing. They're skirting laws. Why the trafficking of drugs is increasing. They're skirting laws. We have laws for all these things. But if we don't enable ourselves to be our own protector, to be our own first responder, then we're idly waiting for those people to show up. And again, when seconds count, why are we waiting minutes? A proper armed professional can be a huge deterrent. Most of the time, they won't even have to use that because just being there in that uniform and with that equipment is going to prevent the bad guy from wanting to look at that facility or organization. Bad guys seek soft targets. Don't make yourself a soft target.
Yeah, that it's almost like gun-free zone. It's almost like inviting bad guys, right? It's something that is like, well, look here, easy target, right? And that's something that's a great point that you bring here is bad guys are gonna look for holes, or they're gonna look for ways that they're gonna make it as easy as possible for them, like something to exploit. If they see that there's gonna be security there, then like, well, there's so many unsecure places. Why would I pick the hardest one, right? So don't put yourself at the bottom where it's the easy target, right? The less security and less secure places, because low hanging fruit for those people, right? So
it is, and as law enforcement is becoming harder and harder to staff, almost every city across the U.S. has understaffed law enforcement jurisdictions. They can't even recruit. Nobody wants to do it right now. Protocols like defund the police. Yeah, protocols like defund the police. That's not going to make you safer. That's actually increasing the bad guy's ability to do harm. Emergency response rates are at an all-time high. It's going to be really important for security and law enforcement integration and collaboration. It's crucial. When we're already there, the cops or law enforcement professionals can count on us to be a team member to keep our communities safer. They have a very vital role, but they're not a deterrent. They're not a proactive force. They're a responder. Security is a proactive deterrent, a proactive force, and your immediate response if that threat becomes a reality. And then we team with our local law enforcement to keep our community safer. Together, we can make that happen.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we should definitely let the law enforcement to be what they are, first responders. But when it comes to being active and when it comes to be proactive, it has to be down to the specific organizations and communities, because
Correct.
We can't just rely on the government. We shouldn't. We should rely on us, and then when the government comes in to help, great, right? It's a great thing, but being able to neutralize something or at least diminish the impact or the negative impact of a situation like that is extremely important. And there a lot of these things is like, miseducation or not being enforced enough with the requirements of like even the government and all that. So how does HCCI can plug in into the general security issues, right? I know that you're located in Denver, but what are you doing in that community, and what other things are you offering, let's say education and other resources for people to learn and take action so they can start getting more secure?
Absolutely. There's a lot of resources we bring to the table, and even more that we're developing now ourselves and with our partners. We're a self-defense instructor. Me and some of the other people in our company, we're Krav Maga instructors with direct Israeli ties. We do Krav Maga private instruction. We're also a certified law enforcement defensive tactics instructor. So we're there to help our law enforcement get more routine and regular training as well. We're certified weapons instructors for the civilian base. We're working on getting our law enforcement certification as well. So we can bring to the table multiple different forms of self-defense training and weapons training, both less lethal, non-lethal, and lethal weapons, all across the board, as well as instruction for other security professionals and law enforcement communities. We also have awareness-based trainings, right? To teach you how to mitigate your risk by increasing your awareness. We also do facility assessments, so we can help you address those vulnerabilities in your locations now. So the resources we bring to the table to train and educate the public are bountiful. We are also Colorado's leading expert with the Jewish community. We specialize in that here in Colorado, and we're working on making that go across the United States. We're actually in the process of expanding into Scottsdale, Arizona right now, and hopefully we'll be in Scottsdale, Arizona by 2024 early.
That is awesome. So anybody in that Denver area, right, Colorado area, definitely can have the full hands-on training, hands-on security, everything. If you're Scottsdale and you're in luck that is coming up soon, that way, hopefully we can bring it out to Puerto Rico too. So we're
Yes.
gonna be talking about that, and if anything, I know that you put a lot of content, educational, in through your LinkedIn, your blog. So that's another resource for people to be able to get information from you and your team about vulnerabilities, advice, what's happening, and things like that.
It is, and you can go to our website for that, which is www.hccisecurity.com. You can look at all the services we offer, different kinds of trainings we offer, as well as we do have a news and information section of multiple different articles that we have written in order to help the public better understand how to become safer, what to look for in different security companies, and the real way to do security.
I love that. And so I know you have a couple of different links, right? Like HCCI Protection, HCCI Security.com. So whatever you prefer, just HCCI Protection or HCCI Security in Google.
They're both
also,
the same.
Right? They're both it's just different ways to get to the same website. So yeah, you have a couple of podcasts out, you have a couple articles and things, so and more to come. So I'll have the links in the description for people that want to connect and want to take matters into their own hands and take action towards schools, towards their businesses, towards just starting getting educated, and then maybe even use another security, but then being able to have that education to make sure who to pick and all that. I think that's a very important thing. So thank you for coming here and adding value to our audience. And I know this is something that is very crucial, and I hope that this helps at least one person.
I hope so too, Foo. Thanks for the opportunity to speak to your community. And again, I look forward to coming out there to Puerto Rico. We actually have built a multi-phase plan for how to bring security and training to Puerto Rico. So we'd like to work with you on that.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for that, and record a podcast in person. And that would be great. That would be great, right? Like I did one on a jacuzzi one day, and it was great. So maybe we can do something like that.
We should bring our mutual friend Otis McGregor out there if we do that.
Oh, for sure. I know Otis and I we're gonna do some cool stuff together. So definitely, awesome. We definitely should invite him and bring Jason too. Like it's just like all get together. Let's get the gang together.
There we go. That'll be one heck of a podcast.
I have no doubt we can make a panel out of it and make it something cool. So that's coming. That's coming. So thanks again, Shane. It's always a pleasure to meet with you. And I know that we're gonna create more content. We're gonna do more push because this is something that is just needs to get out there. People need to understand that we need to do better. Period. That's it.
And we are our own best resource to do that, Foo. We can do that. All of us together.
Exactly. Thank you. Thanks again, Shane. So this was Shane Ammerman and Foo. This is us signing off.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Moments with Foo with your host, Foo. Please leave your feedback and visit strategicadvisorboard.com to get the latest and greatest business advisement on the planet. Follow us on social media for updates, and we will see you on the next episode.